The tension hung thick in the air as Jessica watched in stunned silence, her mouth agape, as Karen callously tossed the precious medical stand to the floor. "That's not for you," Jessica cried, her voice trembling with a mixture of disbelief and outrage. Little did Karen know, that stand was meant for a terminally ill patient, someone whose very life depended on it. This was no mere inconvenience, but a matter of life and death. Jessica knew she had to act quickly, but the stakes had just been raised in a way neither woman could have anticipated. Jessica's heart raced as she rushed to retrieve the fallen stand, her hands shaking with a surge of adrenaline. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" she demanded, her eyes narrowing with a mixture of fear and fury. Karen scoffed, her arms crossed defiantly. "It's just some stupid medical equipment. What's the big deal?" "The big deal?" Jessica repeated, her voice rising with each word. "This stand is meant for a terminal patient who relies on it to stay alive. Without it, they could." She trailed off, the unspoken consequence hanging in the air like a heavy cloud. Karen's expression shifted, a flicker of realization dawning on her face. I didn't know," she stammered, her bravado faltering. Jessica shook her head, her lips pressed into a thin line. "That doesn't excuse what you've done. This is a matter of life and death, Karen. You can't just toss something like that around like it's nothing." The weight of the situation seemed to finally sink in, and Karen's shoulders slumped with a palpable sense of guilt. I'm so sorry. I had no idea. What can I do to fix this?" Jessica took a deep breath, her mind racing to find a solution. "We need to get this stand back to the patient, immediately. Every second counts." Without another word, the two women scrambled to gather the fallen equipment, their previous animosity forgotten in the face of the urgent task at hand. The air was thick with a sense of unease, the gravity of their situation pressing down on them like a physical force. As they hurried towards the hospital, Jessica couldn't help but wonder what other consequences Karen's careless actions might have set in motion. The future had suddenly become uncertain, and she knew that the only way to set things right was to act quickly and decisively. The clock was ticking, and the stakes had never been higher. The drive to the hospital was tense and silent, save for the occasional cursory update from Jessica as she kept a watchful eye on the medical stand in the backseat. Karen gripped the steering wheel, her knuckles turning white as the gravity of the situation weighed heavily on her. As they pulled into the hospital parking lot, Jessica leaped out of the car before it had even fully stopped, the precious equipment clutched tightly in her arms. "Hurry," she called over her shoulder, her feet pounding against the pavement. Karen trailed close behind, struggling to keep up with Jessica's frantic pace. I'm coming," she panted, her lungs burning from the unexpected exertion. The automatic doors slid open, and Jessica burst through, her eyes darting wildly as she searched for the right room. "Mr. Harding's room, where is it?" she asked the startled receptionist, her voice laced with barely contained panic. The receptionist blinked, momentarily taken aback by Jessica's urgent demeanor. Room 312, down the hall to the left," she stammered. Without a moment's hesitation, Jessica took off again, her footsteps echoing through the sterile corridors. Karen struggled to keep up, her chest heaving with each labored breath. As they neared the room, the sound of muffled coughing and labored breathing grew steadily louder. Jessica's heart pounded in her ears, the anxiety threatening to overwhelm her. She couldn't bear the thought of letting Mr. Harding down. Bursting through the door, Jessica found Mr. Harding lying in the bed, his eyes sunken and his skin sallow. The medical equipment surrounding him beeped and whirred, a constant reminder of the fragility of his condition. "Mr. Harding, I'm so sorry," Jessica said breathlessly, gently placing the stand next to his bed. "We've got it back, and it's going to be okay." Mr. Harding's eyes widened with relief, and he managed a weak smile. "Thank you, my dear," he rasped, his voice barely above a whisper. Karen hovered in the doorway, her guilt and shame written plain on her face. She knew she had to make things right, no matter the cost. As Jessica tended to the medical equipment, ensuring it was properly connected and functioning, Karen slowly approached the bedside, her head hung low. "Mr. Harding, she began, her voice trembling. "I'm so incredibly sorry for what I've done. I had no idea how important that stand was to you. I was careless and thoughtless, and I put your life in jeopardy. There's no excuse for my actions, and I understand if you can't forgive me." Mr. Harding regarded her with weary eyes, the lines on his face deepening. "My dear, I can see the sincerity in your words. While what you did was reckless and nearly had dire consequences, I sense that you did not intend any harm." Karen's eyes widened, a glimmer of hope flickering in her gaze. You mean that? You're willing to forgive me?" Mr. Harding nodded slowly, raising a frail hand. "We all make mistakes, Karen. The true measure of a person is how they respond to them. The fact that you have come here, humbled and remorseful, speaks volumes about your character." Tears welled in Karen's eyes as she gently took Mr. Harding's hand, her own trembling. "Thank you, Mr. Harding. I can't tell you how much this means to me. I promise I will do everything in my power to make this right." Jessica watched the exchange, a lump forming in her throat. She'd been so quick to judge Karen, so certain of her guilt. But now, seeing the genuine emotion and contrition in her expression, Jessica couldn't help but feel a sense of empathy. "Mr. Harding," Karen continued, her voice thick with emotion, "is there anything I can do for you? Anything at all?" The frail man considered her words for a moment, then smiled weakly. "Well, my dear, if you truly wish to make amends, there is one thing I would ask of you." Karen nodded eagerly, her eyes shining with hope. "Anything. I swear it." "I've been needing a new book to read," Mr. Harding said, his gaze drifting to the sparse hospital shelves. "Would you be so kind as to bring me something engaging? I find that a good story can lift the spirits in the darkest of times." Karen's face broke into a relieved smile, and she squeezed Mr. Harding's hand gently. "Consider it done, Mr. Harding. I'll return with the best book I can find, I promise." As Karen hurried out of the room, Jessica couldn't help but feel a sense of admiration for the man in the bed. Despite the gravity of the situation, he had shown an incredible capacity for forgiveness and understanding. It was a lesson she knew she would carry with her long after this day. As Karen raced out of the hospital, her mind was a whirlwind of emotions. She couldn't believe the turn of events. Just moments ago, she had been the villain, carelessly tossing aside the precious medical equipment. But now, thanks to Mr. Harding's remarkable grace and understanding, she had the chance to make amends. Jumping into her car, Karen's fingers fumbled with the seatbelt as she started the engine. "Okay, think," she muttered to herself, her brow furrowed in concentration. She needed to find the perfect book, something that would truly lift Mr. Harding's spirits in his time of need. As she pulled out of the hospital parking lot, Karen's eyes scanned the familiar storefronts, searching for the right destination. The local bookstore, that had to be the place. She knew the owner, a kindly old man who always had the most fascinating literary recommendations. Tires squealing, Karen pulled into the parking spot and practically leaped out of the car, her heart pounding with a renewed sense of purpose. The bell on the door chimed as she burst through, startling the few customers browsing the shelves. "Mr. Benson," Karen called out, her eyes darting around the cozy shop. "Are you here?" A muffled voice from the back room answered Karen. "Is that you, my dear?" Moments later, the proprietor emerged, his face breaking into a warm smile. "Well, this is a surprise. What brings you here in such a hurry?" Karen wasted no time in explaining the situation, her words tumbling out in a rush. "Mr. Benson, I need your help. I've done something terrible, and I have to make it right. Do you have any recommendations for an uplifting book, something that could bring joy and comfort to a terminally ill patient?" The older man's expression softened with understanding, and he placed a reassuring hand on Karen's shoulder. "Say no more, my dear. I think I have just the thing." Turning, he disappeared behind a towering bookshelf, the sound of shuffling papers and shifting volumes filling the air. Karen waited with bated breath, praying that Mr. Benson would have the perfect book to help her make amends. After what felt like an eternity, the bookstore owner emerged, a worn leather-bound volume clutched in his hands. "This," he said solemnly, "is a true classic. It's filled with stories of hope, resilience, and the power of the human spirit. I think Mr. Harding will find great solace in these pages." Karen's eyes widened as she reverently took the book, running her fingers over the embossed cover. "Thank you, Mr. Benson. This is exactly what I need." With a renewed sense of determination, Karen hurried back to her car, the precious book cradled in her arms. She knew that this was her chance to make things right, and she wasn't about to let Mr. Harding down. As Karen hurried back to the hospital, the weight of the book in her hands felt heavier with each passing minute. She couldn't shake the guilt that had been gnawing at her since the moment she had so carelessly tossed the medical stand to the floor. "What was I thinking?" she muttered to herself, gripping the steering wheel tightly. "How could I have been so thoughtless?" The memory of Mr. Harding's frail form, surrounded by the beeping machines that kept him alive, burned in her mind. She had come so close to jeopardizing his very existence, all because of her own selfish actions. But now, with the precious book in her possession, Karen felt a renewed sense of purpose. This was her chance to make amends, to prove that she was capable of redemption. As she pulled into the hospital parking lot, Karen took a deep breath, steadying her nerves. She knew that the true test would come when she faced Mr. Harding again, book in hand, and asked for his forgiveness. Striding through the familiar corridors, Karen's heart raced with each step. She could feel the weight of the book in her hands, a tangible reminder of the importance of her mission. Reaching Mr. Harding's room, Karen paused for a moment, gathering her courage. Then, with a gentle knock, she pushed the door open, her eyes searching for the frail man she had wronged. There he was, propped up in his bed, a small smile playing on his lips as he conversed with Jessica. The medical stand stood tall and proud, a silent testament to the care and attention it had received. "Mr. Harding," Karen said softly, drawing the attention of both occupants in the room. I'm back." Mr. Harding's eyes lit up with recognition, and he gestured for her to come closer. "My dear, I'm so glad you've returned. And what have you got there?" Karen stepped forward, the book clasped tightly in her hands. I brought you something," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "A book, just as you asked. I hope you find it uplifting." Gently, she placed the weathered volume in Mr. Harding's frail hands, her own fingers lingering for a moment. "I can't express how sorry I am for what I've done," she said, her eyes pleading for understanding. "But I promise I'll do whatever it takes to make things right." Mr. Harding's eyes crinkled with a warm smile, and he nodded slowly. "I know, my dear, and I appreciate your sincerity more than you can imagine." As Jessica watched the exchange, a sense of hope blossomed in her heart. Perhaps, with time and understanding, Karen could find redemption, and in doing so, heal the wounds she had so carelessly inflicted. In the days that followed, Karen became a regular visitor to Mr. Harding's hospital room, her guilt and remorse fueling a genuine desire to make amends. She would arrive with a new book in hand, carefully selecting titles she hoped would lift his spirits and provide a much-needed escape from the monotony of his confinement. As they read together, Karen would hang on Mr. Harding's every word, eager to hear his insights and perspectives. The man's wisdom and resilience in the face of his terminal illness humbled her, and she found herself drawn into the captivating worlds he described. "You know, my dear," Mr. Harding said one day, his weathered hand gently caressing the book's cover, "these stories remind me that even in our darkest moments, there is always a glimmer of hope to be found." Karen nodded solemnly, her fingers tracing the intricate patterns on the leather binding. I can't imagine how difficult this must be for you, Mr. Harding. But your ability to find joy and meaning, even now, is truly inspiring." The frail man smiled warmly, his eyes shining with a quiet strength. "It's all about perspective, my dear. When faced with adversity, we can choose to be consumed by the darkness, or we can seek out the light, no matter how faint it may be." Karen's gaze fell to her lap, a pang of guilt stabbing her heart. I'm so sorry for nearly taking that light away from you. I was thoughtless and selfish, and I put your life in jeopardy. I don't know how I can ever make that up to you." Mr. Harding reached out and gently placed his hand atop Karen's, his touch feather-light. "My dear, you have already begun the process of making amends. The fact that you have come to me, time and time again, with a sincere desire to make things right, that is more valuable than you know." Tears welled in Karen's eyes as she listened, her heart swelling with a mixture of gratitude and remorse. I don't want to let you down, Mr. Harding. You've shown me such incredible kindness and understanding, and I want to honor that in any way I can." "Then continue to be the person I see before me," Mr. Harding replied, his voice soft but unwavering. "Continue to seek out the light, even in the darkest of times. That, my dear, is the greatest gift you can give me." Karen nodded, her lips curving into a watery smile. "I will, Mr. Harding. I promise." As the two continued their literary discussion, Jessica watched from the doorway, a profound sense of respect and admiration blossoming in her heart. Perhaps, in the end, Karen's thoughtless actions would lead to something far more powerful, the redemption of a soul. As the days turned into weeks, Karen's regular visits to Mr. Harding's hospital room became a cherished routine. The once tense atmosphere had transformed into one of warmth and camaraderie, with the frail man and the once careless woman forming an unlikely bond. During their conversations, Karen found herself captivated by Mr. Harding's unwavering spirit and his ability to find joy in even the smallest of things. Despite the ever-present specter of his terminal illness, he maintained a remarkable resilience and optimism that inspired Karen to look at the world through a new lens. "You know, my dear," Mr. Harding said one day, his weathered hands gently turning the pages of the book they were reading, "I've had a lot of time to reflect on the meaning of life during my time here. And do you know what I've realized?" Karen leaned in, her eyes filled with rapt attention. "What is it, Mr. Harding?" "It's not the grand gestures or the grand accomplishments that truly matter," he said, his voice soft but unwavering. "It's the small moments, the simple acts of kindness and compassion that we extend to one another. Those are the things that leave a lasting impact." Karen nodded, her mind drifting back to the fateful day when she had so thoughtlessly tossed the medical stand to the floor. I understand what you mean, Mr. Harding. If I had just taken the time to consider the consequences of my actions, I could have avoided causing you so much distress." Mr. Harding reached out and gently placed his hand on Karen's arm, his eyes filled with understanding. "My dear, the past is the past. What matters now is how we choose to move forward." Karen felt a surge of emotion, her eyes brimming with tears. "I want to do better, Mr. Harding. I want to be the kind of person who makes a positive difference in the world, just like you." The frail man smiled warmly, his grip on her arm tightening ever so slightly. "Then that is exactly what you shall do, my dear. And you can start by continuing to be a source of light and comfort in my life." As the two shared a moment of profound connection, Jessica watched from the doorway, her heart swelling with a sense of hope and wonder. She had witnessed firsthand the transformative power of forgiveness and understanding, and she knew that the lessons learned here would resonate long after Mr. Harding was gone. For in the face of adversity, Karen had found her redemption, not through grand gestures, but through the simple act of showing up, day after day, and offering her time, her compassion, and her genuine desire to make amends. In the weeks that followed, Karen's visits to Mr. Harding's hospital room became a source of solace and comfort, not just for the frail man, but for herself as well. Their time together was filled with lively discussions, shared laughter, and a profound sense of connection that transcended the walls of the sterile hospital. One day, as Karen sat by Mr. Harding's bedside, the older man reached out and gently clasped her hand, his eyes shining with a mixture of gratitude and contentment. "My dear," he said, his voice barely above a whisper, "I want you to know how much your presence has meant to me. Through your kindness and your willingness to make amends, you have truly transformed my life." Karen felt a lump rise in her throat, and she squeezed his hand, blinking back tears. "Mr. Harding, I don't know what to say. It is I who has been transformed by you and your incredible spirit." The frail man smiled weakly, his gaze unwavering. "You see, Karen, that is the true power of redemption. When we are willing to confront our mistakes and take ownership of our actions, we open ourselves up to the possibility of something greater, the chance to grow, to heal, and to become the best version of ourselves." Karen nodded, her heart swelling with a mix of emotions. "I will never forget the lessons you've taught me, Mr. Harding. They will stay with me long after you're gone." Mr. Harding's eyes crinkled with a gentle smile. "And I will live on, my dear, through the compassion and kindness you choose to share with the world. That is the greatest legacy any of us can hope to leave behind." With a final, faint squeeze of her hand, Mr. Harding's eyes slowly closed, his breathing growing shallow. Karen sat in stunned silence, her own tears cascading down her cheeks as she bore witness to the passing of a truly remarkable man. In the days that followed, Karen found herself reflecting on the profound impact Mr. Harding had had on her life. She knew that his lessons of forgiveness, compassion, and the pursuit of light in the darkest of times would forever shape the way she moved through the world. As she held the tattered book of stories close to her heart, Karen made a silent vow to honor Mr. Harding's memory by living each day with intentionality, kindness, and a relentless pursuit of redemption. For in the end, that was the greatest gift he could have ever given her.